Now, Washington mornings on the Mall. And AM 630. WMAL.
637 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you. Lanny Davis is on the line, former Clinton White House counsel. Good morning, Lanny. How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was great. I read a book called Scandal, How Gotcha Politics is Destroying America. It's by a guy named Davis, who appears on WMAL frequently. And I really don't like that guy, but the book is a great book.
Oh, is that right? Are you serious about that? You've enjoyed it?
No, I wrote a book in 2000,
2006.
You're talking about Lanny Davis, that guy, that character.
Davis, you've heard of him.
Yes.
And the
we have heard of him.
title of the book is How Gotcha Politics is Destroying America.
Okay.
Now, we Democrats never play gotcha when Romney says, I'm going to fire everyone. But when Bill Clinton happens to say, well, maybe we ought to extend the Bush tax cuts, or Barack Obama says, the private sector has created 4 million jobs, it's doing fine. Mm-hmm. We never play gotcha politics when it comes to one of our guys doing.
Is that right? Now, are you saying that the private sector is doing fine?
I think that the word fine is a gaffe and a gotcha. You got two G's there.
Right.
You shouldn't have said the word fine as a generality. You should have said 4 million jobs. That's a fact, but we need to do better. It's called a gaffe. And it's not going to affect any votes, but it sure is a lot of fun for people like us to talk about.
I'm not sure on this one, Lanny. I think
you.
This one could be one that just sort of, because what it does is it shows the president, doesn't really have a sense of what it is to be in the private sector right now. You talk to people in the private sector, and I guarantee you, they don't think they're doing fine.
Oh, there's no question the word fine is a gaffe, and I think Bill Kristol did point out that a gaffe is hurtful if it does seem to crystallize something that people doubt about you anyway. The most famous one is, ironically, the most famous gaffe in presidential politics, at least modern history, was Mitt Romney's dad, George Romney, when he came back from Vietnam, and he said, I was brainwashed. Well, there was something about George Romney seemed a little bit wide-eyed and starry and naive, and that sort of crystallized that doubt. So, sure, Barack Obama saying that the private sector is fine, we need more public sector jobs, crystallizes a doubt that he really sees the private sector in a realistic manner, and he favors government. But we all know that's not true, that he knows that private sector job generation is the only thing that really counts, and it was a gaffe.
But the walk back, to me, Lanny, was almost as damning as the original gaffe. Well, of course I think that there's a problem. The economy's not strong. That's why I held a press conference, which almost suggested that his answer to solving the problem is just to call the press together.
Barack Obama had a bad week.
He really did.
He's tied in the polls with probably the worst week of the campaign. Will you please tell me why Mitt Romney's not ahead in the polls? I'll tell you the reason. This is a 50-50 country that hasn't made up its mind.
Well,
this doesn't help the president when he says the private sector is doing fine. And by the way, isn't a gaffe? He said it was defined. Somebody said it was like when a politician actually speaks the truth, but it comes out when he knows it shouldn't come out.
Well, look, it was a mistake to use the word fine. He was emphasizing an important fact that in his administration, as compared to my friend George Bush's administration, private sector job growth has been positive for over 20 months, 4 million jobs. That's a fact. He should have stopped there rather than characterizing the fact by calling it fine.
Well, by the way,
wine is fine.
You're right, though. It really was a really rough week for the administration. And today, it's entirely possible the Supreme Court will strike down Obamacare.
Well, that would be most unfortunate, also unprecedented, and I hope Justice Kennedy is the fifth vote in favor of keeping an individual mandate so that everyone contributes to a pool in a private insurance system. Let's remember, this is a private insurance system. President Obama rejected Medicare for all, rejected a single-payer government-run system for a private insurance company system where insurance companies have to compete on exchanges. The only issue is, do you force healthy people into that system so that the amount of premiums everyone has to pay is lower? And
But let me ask you this, though, Lanny.
Overturns the individual mandate, premiums are going to go up, and we're all going to have to depend on, at least poor people will have to depend on going to public hospitals to get their care, and guess who pays the public hospital?
You'll agree with me, though, Lanny, that if Obamacare is struck down, that will be a tremendous blow. It's the signature hallmark of the Obama administration. It's the one thing they point to that they're most proud of, and if it's found to be unconstitutional, that would be a huge blow to this administration.
Well, I think it will be a setback to the administration. I completely agree politically, but I think it's a setback to the country because I believe in the program.
All right, Lanny, before we let you go and change topics, why do you think Scott Walker won last week in Wisconsin?
Most important, the exit polls tell us that people resented the process of recalling the governor using recall as a system for substituting for elections. The exit polls showed that Obama was beating Romney. So there were dual reasons. I do think, though, I admit, as a Democrat that favors government workers, favors collective bargaining, that most of the people of Wisconsin disagree with me. And we Democrats are on the short end of the argument that public employees should have the same rights to organize as private employees. I happen to believe that, but I also recognize that public opinion is against me on that one.
All right, Lanny. Enjoy reading the rest of your book this week.
Okay.
We'll see you next
Good luck,
week.
guys.
Lanny Davis here on WMAL.